All right, everybody. Thank you for hanging out with us. It is another Old School Comics filling in for the fill-in. All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. Old School Comics. You guys saw the intro. No Deno today. No DS Comics. They both had to take the day off, I think, traveling. So here I am. But listen, I'm not alone. I got two great people to hang out and talk with me. Eddie, everybody, thank you for hanging out with us. I got Nate, IG on Trial by Gods, and of course, Mikey, My Key Comics. I like that, Mikey.
Thank you.
How did that come up? I mean, that was super easy, right?
I'm a big fan of puns. Always have been.
Yeah.
So it just came.
Not bad. All right, you guys, listen, make sure you guys follow them on IG. We're just going to hang out and talk Old School Comics tonight. A lot of fun going on. Here's where you guys can find them, of course. Just hit the follow button, everybody. Woo. That's all you got to do, right?
Do it.
You got it, and I'm sorry, you guys. I'm not good at this. So when you do it like this, you hit the. Well, I already hit the follow button on that one, so I messed up. So hit the follow button. What I want to start talking about first is, one of my favorite things that has come out. Nate, I'm going to mute you. I think it might be some feedback, so I'm just going to mute you, and then whenever you talk, just mute. Okay, unmute. So one of the cool things that I wanted to talk to the guys about, because we're on Old School Comics, of course, is the Promise Collection. One of the coolest things in comics that has happened to me in the last 20 years. I think it's one of the super, super huge historical wise, and us comic fans and collectible fans can completely geek out. And recently, Brian over at Heritage Comics put out this cryptic post that says, "Okay, do not miss tomorrow. I'm going to blow up IG with a pic. It's pretty cool. In the meantime, I'll dazzle you with the first appearance of Tomahawk." Mikey, do you have any idea what the post is?
Well, if it's Brian, it's either super valuable or it's LB Cole. It's one or the other.
Right. I'm hoping. I'm a LB Cole fan, so I'm hoping for LB Cole stuff. That Contact Comics from that.
Wild. Oh, it was beautiful. I held it in person. It was gnarly.
I don't think that I've seen very many things more beautiful than that. I'm gonna see if I can find it on here, you guys. This thing is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. I don't like to have a comic that old and that good a condition with that color still available. The black still pops, all the color pops, absolutely gorgeous. And I am one of those guys that collects space comics. I'm a huge alien, like anything with aliens and UFOs on it. And this to me is one of the grails, right?
So this was the one that Brian said that he found just laying on Lon's desk. And that's the amazing part is, Brian, you're talking about the color. I'm colorblind, and to me, like, the colors just stand out.
Looks even better in person.
Oh my God, man. I got goosebumps just you guys talking about that. Like, this is one of those books that I've never seen. I've never held, nothing. And then he shows this and I'm like, well, unless you can get one of these, but I am lucky. I do have, Nate, you were talking earlier, you're going to bust out your one Golden Age comic, and we're going to get to show and tell later on, but I only have one book that I'm still waiting to get graded. It doesn't look anywhere near as nice as this. I've been lucky enough to own a Punch Comics 12. Ooh. The one book that supposedly is not in this. Do you know, Mikey, if it's in this run?
I think we'd all know by now if it were. I haven't heard about that at all.
Yeah, I think we would too. So I'm one of, just like a lot of the people at Flipside, I'm one of the guys that was never into Golden Age, was into Silver Age just because I'm a huge Neil Adams fan, and more kind of like copper and bronze stuff, but Silver Age was kind of where I started. Anything Golden Age was just too much for me, too much to get into, until I got into collecting comics, like, not professionally, I guess I would say, but like at a major pace, right? You start collecting comics, you start learning about the history of comics, and then something grabs you, and the next thing you know, you're Deno, and all you do is talk about old school comics, Golden Age, Silver Age, PCH, whatever it is. So let's get into the some of the Promise Collection talk, like what ifs. Deno was talking about, maybe there's a chance to own one book out of this run, like, for people like us that don't have 30 grand just sitting around to go buy a book. All these books, though, I don't think. Do we know, like, some of the books? What was the lowest price at some of the books that were sold recently?
It's funny you say that, because I was showing my wife and telling her the story about the Promise Collection, and I was saying, I think everyone's going to own or want to own one book as their dream. I mean, just look at that label. But the problem is, they're such beautiful books. I don't know if anyone can afford them unless you really have such a substantial amount of money, or you're willing to maybe get rid of some of your Silver Age that's blown up to kind of get into one of these.
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's the reason why I brought this up, is because that was my next spot. Like, what in your collection are you willing to give up to get one of these books? Like, and it doesn't even have to be like one of the great ones, in this run. It could just be, I don't know. I mean, like, there's got to be a book in there that maybe you can get for like 10 grand. That you can just say, hey, I had a Promise Collection book. That's the reason why I say that is because the whole historical aspect is so important to this. I know I talk about it all the time, but I want to get in talk to let everybody know, when you start talking about the fact that, first of all these books stayed in decent condition, and then you throw in the fact that the story is so good about the two brothers going to the Korean War, only one making it back, and the other brother taking care of it. This is the type of thing that they need to do a documentary on.
Yeah, did the other, because it was the older brother who collected the books, and he passed away, and the younger brother is the one who took care of them. Did the younger brother pass away?
I think that's how we've got him, right?
Right.
I think so. Now the family's decided to sell them.
Yeah. Which is surprising that they waited this long. Right. I mean, he made a promise, though. He made a promise. Do we know?
Exactly.
Do we know? Here's the biggest question for me. Do we know, like, how these were stored before that Heritage got them?
They were in an attic in boxes, no bags.
Oh my God.
Yeah, because that's what Matt and Lon were saying before, which is still astonishing that they all come back at 9.2s, 9.4s, 9.6s, 9.8s.
Yeah, the owner of the collection thought they were average grade VG. So
Aaron Yee says, I sold a kidney to buy a Promise Collection book. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man.
One or two kidneys.
Yeah. Well, I remember, I think it was Brian that was saying it, that there's one like pedigree that might be above this, and that being the church pedigree, right? The Mile High pedigree. I'll be honest, and the only reason he said that is because the church had the bigger keys, right? I'll be honest, I think this, even though this doesn't have like the huge massive keys that has, the story to me outweighs it, and the condition of these outweigh it.
Definitely in certain cases. The thing is with the church one is there's 20,000 of those books.
Yes.
And there's like 5,000 Promise Collection. There's only 5,000 Promise Collection books. So.
I know, right? That's the crazy thing also, is that there were so many of them that that came out of this, and that they kept it quiet for so long, right? How long has Heritage been working on this? They had to have been working on this for a couple of years now.
No.
No. How long? How long is it?
Recent. I don't know the exact specifics, but we were the first ones they called. They were the first ones they called.
Yeah.
It was quick.
Hey, Mikey, how long did it take CGC to grade them all?
Shorter than it takes them to grade our books.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason why, I think, right? I think there's a big
when
reason
you come
why.
up with a collection like this, they'll push it.
Yeah. Well, also the fact that I felt like that they were gonna piece out the sales further apart because of so many and the amount of books and there's only so much money out there at the time, right? Like you can't sell 1,000 or 500 of the greatest condition golden age books that are out there and then do it again in 6 months. I feel like that's crazy to me.
I think the people buying them can afford it.
Yeah. Well,
that's the thing. It's a different world.
Yeah, let's get into that a little bit because that's kind of like a world that you live in, Mikey. Is this world, these crazy pieces? And
well, I didn't buy a Promise Collection book.
Well, not yet.
I've been on some. I
was about to say not yet. Oh, is there one in? Are you going to try to have one of these? Are you going to own one of these, Mikey?
Depends. If the right book comes up, because I follow all of them, and sometimes it feels like one's going cheap, but if I feel like one's going cheap, so does somebody else, and they get me.
Yeah,
because it's like it's an awesome thing, and it's just I know I'm not the only one watching them. Too much publicity around it. Things don't really slip through the cracks. You're kind of lucky if one falls through, and when they do fall through, it's still $20,000 or $30,000. And it's like, oh well, it should have been 40, so I guess it was cheap.
Well, the other thing is, our hobby is bouncing like never before. I mean, like it's on fire. I know a lot of people are talking about a correction in the card market and could it be coming to comics and this and that. I don't care if a correction comes because I think the correction will still be way higher than what we saw, in the last couple of years. We're still gonna even out somewhere. But I still think, and this is gonna sound crazy, but I still think that a lot of these old school comics have room to move on. I mean, maybe not the biggest ones and some of the biggest and best, but I think a lot of these collectors who are coming over now, not only from cards, but also, like you said, these people have money. These people are investors now, and there's investors looking at our hobby more than ever. I think that these golden age and these silver age books have room to grow. Immense room to grow compared to some of the other modern stuff. But here's the other thing. Every Monday and every Friday when I go do a show talking about these modern books, we see sales that, we're talking about a sale on a modern book and then the next sale we talk about is an old school book, a key that we could get two of for what this modern book just sold for, right? Are you guys keeping an eye on the modern stuff and the sales on the modern stuff much?
I love modern stuff.
Do you really?
I love modern stuff.
Are you buying a lot of modern stuff still?
Yeah, I buy a lot of modern.
Wow, that surprises me. You know why? Because I see a lot of my friends who are jumping in this side of the pool and they want to stay away from the modern.
I jumped out of the golden age pool into the modern pool.
That's crazy. That's absolutely bonkers. That's bonkers. Andy, what's up, brother? For you guys that don't know, make sure you guys go check out Comic Man Andy. Very close to 1,000 subs. Let's get him over that hump. Good dude over there. All right, so let's get in. Okay, so that was just basically a little spiel, shooting the shit. I'm spitballing here. Let's get into some. Nate had a book that he wanted to do a little show and tell on. He said he had one golden age book that he was going to bust out, and I want to talk about it.
Yeah, so the first actually slab I ever bought was a Superman 4. It was a 5 CGC. And that actually, the kind of the ironic part about that is, Lex Luthor, I think it's Action Comics 23 is the first appearance of Lex Luthor. And Superman was quarterly and Action Comics was monthly. So a lot of people see the bald guy on the front of Superman 4 and they think it's Lex, but Lex had red hair and it wasn't until later that he was bald. But actually that ended up coming out first before the Action Comics, even though Action Comics, it was just the timing of when the actual book actually hit the stand. But Superman, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't drive me like Batman.
No.
So I was like, okay, let me move on from Superman. Let me see if I can get maybe a book that I've always wanted. And if you've ever seen Cannonball Run, if you're going to be a bear, be a grizzly.
Oh,
Let's
wow.
go. Let's
go. That is beautiful.
It's a 2.
It looks
It
amazing,
looks
though.
beautiful.
Actually, Mikey, I don't know if this guy's gonna be set up there, but the guy I got it from is Dan Gallo. He's in White Plains, and he's an advisor to Overstreet. Super guy to work with. I got a Hulk 1 from him. He actually, believe it or not, at the time he had a 2 and a 3, and it was just one of those books. And I think Deno and
James.
Diaz talk about it a lot with Golden Age books. If there's one that you want, you better jump, because you don't know when it's going to come up again. And so I got this about 10 years ago.
Wow.
Oh, well, you did well on it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's paid back, but it's just I think there's 70 that are Blue Label that are on the census, and it's every once in a while I see one that pops up, or it's on eBay that maybe like a 1.5 or 2, and but it looks very it presents very well.
Why is it a 2? It looks stunning.
It does.
It's got, and I know it's kind of hard to see. It's a little brittle here, and he even mentions slightly brittle pages. But I mean, I think because the 3 that he had was at that time 10 years ago was priced double, and I didn't have that much money, so I basically spent what I had and picked this up.
I got you, and I can't imagine the 3 looked much better than that. No. Or did it even look better? I doubt it.
One of the you talked about taking that chance on a book when you see it, because some of these books you're never going to see. I mean, I talked about the Punch book. George had to convince me to never sell that book, because I was going to sell it. And I was like, I'm going to make my money off. And he's like, listen, man, that book doesn't come up. And I didn't know, I'm a fan of Skull books. And I just said, I really want that book. It showed up in a collection, and I got lucky. And I was going to sell it. And then he was like, man, I don't think you realize that book is pretty rare. You don't want to sell that book. And one
in a while.
Yeah, right. I can't remember the last time one sold. It's been, and I've looked.
What grade?
So it's ungraded, and the problem is I am so worried about sending that book out that I want to be able to fly over there and drop it off. Right. You know what I mean? So it's not bad. It's the cover's still attached. The only problem is I'm worried that if I take a look inside, I don't want to mess anything up. So you know what I mean? I'm I'm too careful for it. But one of the things that I've been looking for years, and this is a weird branch of old school comics that I've been wanting to talk with people about a while and see if they, what they think about this. But I'm a big fan of the Old School Spirit weekly inserts that were in newspapers back in the day. And a lot of people don't know about these. Of course, old school guys know about these for sure. You rarely see them. When you do see them, they're in terrible condition, or they're super old. I mean, these ones look great, but you can kind of see. Let's see if I can pull up. You can kind of see their newspapers. They were just in old school newspapers back in the day. If you're, depending on where you were and what city you were in, they would be in your weekly newspaper. I'm not too sure when, but one of the things about this is the history aspect, right? So not only do I love the Old School Spirit stuff, and it's Will Eisner and this and that, but there is an issue from 1947, and I'm gonna bring it up. Let's see if I can find it here. There's an issue from 1947, from September of 47, I believe, that I should have been ready for this. 49, 48. They might not even have it. So, like I said, I was a big fan of UFOs, right? And aliens and that type of stuff. I've been looking for this for 10 years now. It is, it is the Spirit Weekly from September 28th, 1947. And I'll try and make this bigger so you guys can see it. But it basically, it says, were you listening to the radio on the evening October 1st, 1938? Do you remember the Awesome Bells famous radio dramatization of the invasion from the planet Mars? Remember how scared everyone was? They thought it was real, the real thing. It wasn't silly, an invasion by men from another planet. This is the very first time in comics that they ever mentioned a flying saucer or UFO.
Wait, what?
Very first time in comics that they've ever mentioned a flying saucer or UFO. A month after Kenneth Arnold's very first sighting, where he coined the term flying saucers.
I didn't know it was that new of a term. That's sweet.
Isn't that crazy, man? So this is the type of stuff that I love finding, right? I love finding this type of stuff. I get into, I was talking to somebody the other day, and he said, and it isn't an old school thing, but it's the same kind of thing. Like the very first time that they talk about Magneto being Jewish in a comic, right? Stuff like that, where usually people don't talk about those type of things, like collecting those type of things in comics. It's always a key first appearance, or the first time a superhero meets. Do you guys have any of those types of things that are in your collection that you absolutely love, or you're looking for those weird types of historical aspects?
I was looking for the National 18 because that's the one that came out in December of 41, and it has Pearl Harbor getting bombed.
Dude, that was sick.
I'm gonna look for that.
If you can find the National 18 with the star stamp on there, that means it was owned by someone in the military.
Oh, great point, man. Wow. Hold on, I'm gonna bring this up.
So, Mikey, you know what the wish list is for next weekend now.
Got it.
There we go. Wow. Yeah, that is a great historical cover, man. Look at that. Can you guys see this? Hold on, let me bring this up. Absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, that's the type of stuff that I want to own. I want to own stuff that not only is cool art and cool comic book stuff, but I wanted to have cool pieces of history like this that just make it's that touch better, right? It's that Promise Collection touch. There's just something that adds a little bit to it, the historical aspect. Gore says one of his customers showed me on his phone his key Wolverine collection, Hulk 180, 181, Wolverine and some more keys. Have never read an X-Men or Wolverine comic. Wow. I'm not surprised. A lot of people collect comics that don't read comics. So do you guys read have you ever read any of your old stuff? Do you ever read any of it?
I'm not a reader.
You don't read it all, Mikey?
Now that being said, no, I don't read it all, but I have read. Like, I've read all of the Watchmen. There's a really cool YouTube series where it goes panel by panel with all different voice actors with tiny animations. I did all of that. I read a lot. I've read graphic novels like V for Vendetta and that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to Golden Age stuff and modern stuff, I'm not with it when it comes to the stories. I'm more of just an art appreciator.
Mm-hmm. See, I'm cool with that. I've always said that I think that to me, comics should be really good covers on comics. Those comics should not be in long boxes. Those comics should be on the wall somewhere, like you have behind you, Nate. Right? That's that to me. So I'm good with that. But I'm also I'm kind of with you there, Mikey. I'm a big part of my collecting or my comic stuff buying is just collecting comics. Like, I want to collect cool stuff. I don't have to read it necessarily to want it. So I get that. I get that aspect.
And I do the same thing with video games and Pokemon. I've never played Pokemon, but I mean, I got some cards. And same thing with Yu-Gi-Oh! And video games that I haven't played, I own the games. And it's just sweet.
Yeah, that's what's coming next, right?
Yep.
That's what every kid that is getting or young adult that's getting into some expendable cash, right? They're going, I want the stuff that I grew up with. I want Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon. I want this stuff. But then something happens like we're going through right now that gets them pulled in even deeper, right? So a lot of like I talked about earlier, a lot of these new collectors are getting into this older stuff, and they're finding about this older stuff. Yeah, which is absolutely great. Chad says, I wonder if that is the first Uncle Sam in comics. I don't think so, but we'll find out.
There's another comic related to Pearl Harbor, but I can't remember the issue number. Stray Flexen's the one who told me about it, Yaniv Alenkrai. And it literally predicts Pearl Harbor happening.
Oh
It
my
came out
God.
before Pearl Harbor. It's on the page. It's inside of it. You have to read it to know. So I would never. But it literally has Pearl Harbor being bombed on the interior. It's sick.
That's what this one is. National.
That's this one. That's this one. So
So
this happened before Pearl Harbor happened.
it did. So I'm assuming that they printed about 6 months or had the storylines done about 6 months before it actually hit, but it hit in December on the newsstands, and it actually has Pearl Harbor.
So that's like the same day. That's like
I
like
think
the same month
it
or
came out
something
the
like
same,
that.
like the day before or something along those lines. It's just
Oh my God.
It's incredibly ironic.
And there's a few comics like that. There's another Marvel mystery where they're bombing a bridge, and the CIA ended up like calling up the artist, like, "Yo, how did you know that we were planning this attack on the bridge?" Like something like that. Basically, I can't remember exactly which number it was. I think it's in the 40s or the 50s.
So this is interesting. It says the cartoonist who predicted Pearl Harbor, and it shows Don Winslow of the Navy. Now, I don't know if this is if this is it. The creative process that resulted in Don Winslow began. Martin worked. Hold on, sorry guys, I'm reading out loud. It's terrible. Wow, that is cool. Let's see here. The first chapter premiered 27th October 1941, 2 weeks prior to the attack that Martinick had predicted 20 years earlier. So some other guy also did it 20 years earlier in some cartoon.
He's like the Simpsons.
Dude, that's funny. That is great. Yeah, right? Yeah. You guys see the even though it's not old school, you guys see the jump on Simpsons books? Like Simpsons books are jumping right now. Like
Good.
people, yeah, I'm all for it, right? I love that old school bongo run. Yeah, man, that's cool. I would love to have a shot at any of those types of books like that.
I've been getting really into animation cells, and a Simpsons one's definitely one on my list. There's some on eBay right now from Treehouse of Horror, but they don't have the backgrounds. They're just the cells on printed backgrounds. And
wow.
One of those I've been tempted to grab. They're like, $1,000, $2,000. I'm like,
yeah, that seems like a lot for a newer animation. If it was something older, I'd be like, okay, I'm down for that.
And it might still be cheap. I've been buying a lot of like anime production cells, like Dragon Ball Z and the Studio Ghibli ones and that kind of stuff. I've been following that market a lot recently.
We were talking about this the other day. There are some old school, I don't know if they're pulps or what they are, but they're Mickey Mouse books that are like super. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do. They're like books. They're actual books. Yes. They're like hard covered and
yeah.
There's one that's like first Mickey Mouse in book form, and it's like not that expensive. I mean, it's a few $1,000, but it's like for being first Mickey Mouse while he's still like what was Mickey Mouse initially called? Steamboat
Willie, yeah.
Like that's really cool.
Yeah, we the other day on Monday's show, we were talking in our market report. I had found an old 1930s tobacco card, and it was Walt Disney, and it was from 31, and it was Disney, and he was sitting on a stool, and he has Mickey, I don't know if it's a doll or what, but Mickey on his lap, and the card sold for like, I don't know, like $800 or something, and to me, that's cool because it has Mickey on the card with him too. Like before Mickey was big or anything. So, but the problem is once we start fighting Disney collectors, it's all over. We're never going to win that battle.
We can wait them out.
Do you see Peanuts? I know I'd watched something that John Z had done some time ago. And, I'm surprised that like Peanuts 1 isn't more than it is. I mean, I don't see that many because it's a golden age. And I want to say that
book's hard.
I think I saw one that's like a CGC, like a 2.5 that's actually on eBay now. But it's the one where Charlie Brown's at bat. I think Snoopy's right there. I can't remember the girl it's in it. But I've never seen one. I bought an old Charlie Brown from like live auction last year. It just to put in my son's room for $20. And it was back in the 60s with Snoopy under the sofa and Charlie Brown watching TV. I don't hear much about Peanuts.
So that brings up a kind of a good question. And this goes back with the spirit stuff. So, growing up, you would go read my dad would save the funnies for me from the paper, when we were kids, and you'd read the funnies, right? And there would always be like a Superman or a Spider-Man in there. Those, I'm surprised we don't hear more about those being, super collectible and people trying to find those, because, you could find like the first Peanuts comic strip, which it's kind of funny because that was one of the first things I pulled up here. But like things like this, where you could find October 2nd, 1950, the first Peanuts comic strip, and the first time Charlie Brown is called Good Old Charlie Brown, which is bonkers crazy to me. How cool would that be to own something like that? I mean,
What is there any like recorded sales for it, like just the strip?
that's a great question. Let me see if I can find that.
Because that'd be insane.
Yes, that would be.
Because
so
like there's not
cool.
many like newspaper clippings I would pay a lot of money for, but that's I'd pay a lot of money for.
Yes.
I mean, even when you're talking about those strips, like, if you see the Golden Age Dennis the Menace, I'd be much more interested in like the comic strip than I would the actual Golden Age book.
Here you go, guys. How about this one? 192,000. So this is from November 20th, 2020. Peanuts syndicated comic strip began, let's see here, 50-year run, October 2nd, 1950. Snoopy first appeared just 2 days later. So this is not the first strip, but the first Snoopy. Earliest day Peanuts comic strip from November 17, 1950 has just hammered at Heritage for 192,000, a record price for a Peanuts daily comic strip.
But that's got to be the original art.
You think so?
Gotta be.
That's a lot of money. Let me take a look here. Oh, wow. It is. Original art. That's the first time Snoopy appeared ever. How crazy is that?
God, when you say it like that, it's like, maybe I should sell some of my comic books.
Time to sell his Pokemon.
Yes, sell my Pokemon. Take them.
Yes. Oh, you laugh, but those Pokemon, those first series Pokemon boxes are going for $500,000. Like, when you say that, and then I know I can buy, a couple of these.
I would rather have that than a first edition box. For sure.
Any day.
For sure.
Yeah, that is freaking cool. That is really cool. It's so cool to even see like how it started too, right? Like Charlie Brown doesn't look like Charlie Brown. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, he looks more like Linus.
Yeah, he does. He looks that's crazy. That's bonkers. Oh.
Does he have hair?
He does. He has hair. Yeah. Yeah. It also looks like he has like a comb over from the back. Yeah, that's cool. Well, listen, there's a lot of the strips that are selling original, at least the original art, and I imagine they sell for a lot. But here we can get down another rabbit hole of finding these original strips and finding the first time Linus appeared, right? Finding the first time Lucy appeared, and you can get out of the Peanut stuff. I love to collect creator first, right? And a lot of creators had their first work as strip artists, so it's so hard to find those because nobody saved. You saved newspapers, but it's so rare. It had to be like a major event for a reason for you to save the newspaper.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's great. Here we go. Alan says Pokemon Charizard is more money than Hulk 181 first edition. Yeah. That's crazy to me too, but
it has to be in 10. Yeah,
you're right. Which
9 is not.
Which is very rare for those cards because they were so condition sensitive. It was unreal how condition sensitive those things are, compared to Silver Age and Copper Age and Bronze Age books. So, cool stuff. Very cool stuff.
Hey Brian, when you think about kind of comparing cards and comics, do you think about Golden Age being like, in my mind, I think about Golden Age when it comes to cards, 56 and prior, and then 57 kind of beginning of Silver Age, because that's actually when you got the pictures of the players on the cards versus the portraits.
Yes, I agree. Listen, here's the thing that's hard with cards for me, right? Because about 15, 20 years ago, we started getting, finding a lot of these cards that like really came out way before cards were ever made, in that big size. They were like newspaper that I think the first Babe Ruth in print, right, is like from 1917 newspaper, where that you actually had to cut them out of the newspaper, and people saved those you actually had them graded, right? So it goes back to, if they were saving those, maybe they were you can get some of these strips. But the crazy thing to me is you talked about the golden age of cards. Man, they're finding new cards that they knew never existed that are way before a lot of the stuff that we consider, first, like those Cracker Jack cards of the early baseball players, anything Topps or Bowman put out, obviously, but there's new stuff coming every day, which blows me away. I think there's a name for that in comics too, right? The stuff that predates the golden age. What do they call that? Platinum. Is that what they call it?
Yeah. Platinum age.
Yeah. Platinum age. So, and even before then, where there was like stuff before that, the very first comics, I think I saw recently somebody purchased like what is considered the very first comic ever drawn. It was like we may have been talking about this on Flipside. It was a samurai, a thing for a samurai, and the samurai would back in the day would, to tell their tales about their battles and what they've done. They would have
What
a
year
painting.
was it?
It was super old. I'll find it. This is gonna be crazy.
The Heritage Animation auction that just happened had some of those really, really old Japanese comics in it. I think I had two of them, well, at least one.
That might have been it. I think I might have seen it. You know what? I might have seen it from
It
Brian.
sold for like 20 grand or something like that.
I think you're right. I think I saw it on Brian's page. Let me bring this up. This is crazy. Yeah, here it is. This is so cool. So this, and Brian says, how cool. This is the coolest thing. One of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life. This is incredible and probably one of the most amazing things I've ever seen while here. Precursor to manga is called Ponche Meiji. The only way I can describe this is it was hand-drawn comic on cloth depicting history of battles and such. And look at this. Look at that.
Whoa.
That is
it's
cool.
hand-drawn. Is it one of one?
Yeah. Yep. It's only sold for $13,000.
If I knew a little more, I was watching it sell.
If you would have known that, would you have put a bid on it, right?
I mean, maybe. There's during those kinds of auctions, I'm a little trigger happy.
Yeah. Yes.
And I never win still. I still never win.
Well, I think the historical aspect makes it that's the theme of this episode. The historical aspect makes it, at least you won't feel too guilty owning, spending a ton of money on something like this.
That's the thing. When there's like one of them, it's the earliest thing known. It's like, okay, well, sure.
That's why I love original art. I think original art. Yeah. To me, if I could collect, if they were like, hey, you can only collect one thing for the rest of your life, like in all the things you collect now, what would easily original art? One-on-one stuff. I even love sketches, like con sketches. I think one of the coolest things ever is to have a art book that is just full of con sketches. I always thought that would be so cool just to throw that on your coffee book table. There's like 20 original pieces of art in there. Go ahead and go through them. That's the type of stuff that I think that I want to talk more about. We talked about this recently Saturday night. We had you guys might know him, Mikey, you might know him, Bill Ponsetti. He owned okay, so we had Bill on, and
he saw him last weekend.
Really?
2 weekends ago.
Okay,
2 weekends ago.
Yeah, he talked about was that the thing out in California? Yeah. So he talked about those types of things, like people don't realize the original art collecting yet. Like it hasn't. That's another thing that hasn't caught fire yet. But once it does, game over.
That's why it's hard.
Yeah.
Comics, there's so many of them, so there's a lot of data, and you don't have to read them to know it. You don't have to.
Yes.
Original art, you have to be smart.
Yeah. Or rich. One of the two.
Or rich.
Yeah. Well, here's the other thing. Like, how many artists nowadays are doing their stuff digitally? They don't have original art.
Yeah.
That's
That's
scary.
why I think a lot of that modern art, specifically for first appearances, is so cool. Like I know who owns the Ultimate Fallout 4 cover, and I was one of the few people who thought when it got purchased that it was cheap. And then after that, I learned that it's the only piece of existing art from that entire issue period.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh, all right, that was really cheap. That was really everything else was done on the computer. So there's just nothing else.
That's scary to me. That's kind of sad. I mean, it's great for being able to get things out faster and this and that, but not to not have that original art just feels, oh man, it kind of makes me want to cry. That's a bummer. That's a real big bummer. I wonder how many of those guys even do like sketches nowadays, like a preliminary sketch, even on paper. They probably don't even do that.
No, but they do have there's the mono prints, which are, they're kind of cool. And they obviously don't sell for that much, but I mean, now when you're talking about the NFT market and things like that, it's like, why shouldn't a mono print be worth a lot of money too if it's from a really from a really important scene or issue? There's only one of them. You technically own it. You got a COA.
Well, let me ask you this.
Cool.
Are you into NFTs yet, Mikey?
No, I never got into NFTs.
You haven't jumped in that water? What about you, Nate?
I tried to get into the tops when they released it a couple of weeks ago. But when you're talking about the digital art, that's why I was wondering if instead of having the actual drawings, if it gets converted and now it's going to be an NFT market.
Yeah. Well,
we'll see what happens, right? The NFT market is a super scary thing right now because of the I see somebody will send me a thing saying, with an article saying NFT is falling and it's not going to work out and this and that. And I'm just like, man, I don't get it. I feel like there's a lot of weird steps that you have to take with that type of stuff and who owns what and this and that. But for artists, though, I think it's a game changer. I think it's a win-win. If everything's going to be towards digital and people just love owning, saying they can own something, whether they have physical ownership on it or digital ownership on it, it doesn't matter. They just want to own it. They want to say, hey, this is mine. I'm the only one that has it. Again, back with the original art, the original sketch. I'm the only one that has this. Nobody else has it. That's a cool thing to be able to say. And it's very rare in comics nowadays, unless it's original art and these super crazy, old school pedigree comics that are just bonkers. Cool stuff though. All right, you guys, thank you for hanging out. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And if you guys aren't subscribed already, hit that bell. We got great stuff that drops every night of the week, multiple nights of the week. We appreciate all the people in here live. We've got 36 live viewers right now. All right, let's get into some more fun stuff. You guys got anything you guys want to talk about? You guys got anything cool going on in your collection nowadays?
Dragon Ball Z cells.
Is that what you're buying? You're buying Dragon Ball Z
I've been buying
cells?
so many Dragon Ball Z cells, or really animation cells in general. I just bought my first Studio Ghibli one from Nausicaa. It hasn't come in the mail yet, or I'd show it off. But yeah, I've been really heavily in animation cells, and I just think it's like for specific shows that I think are like really revolutionary, like Dragon Ball Z. I think they're great to own. And like first appearances, like I've got ones that are like first time this happened in the TV show. So I'll show some stuff.
Yeah, I would love to see some of this stuff because this is the type of stuff. So finding new things that I don't know about. Oh, wow.
So yeah, so I've kind of got it in chronological order. So this is the first villain from Dragon Ball Z, Emperor Pilaf. But this is what I'm talking about with first appearances. So we got Goku. Let's see how I can position this. We've got Goku over here. That's weird. And this is the first time he turns into the big monkey thing in Dragon Ball. So that's like, when I had the chance to buy that, I had to go for it because it was just, it's sick.
Yeah.
And then, there's, this is the heartthrob Marin. So that's like the hot chick from Dragon Ball. And then I go to Dragon Ball Z, and this is a big, this is a big pan shot. So pans, I just think are cool. That's Goku versus his brother. It's the first villain of Dragon Ball Z. I got Vegeta when he's running away after Goku kicks his butt. So, there's like only one. I think there's only one cell for that whole scene. So that I thought
People
was
are
important.
geeking out about this. I guarantee it. They're geeking out over this.
Because I loved Dragon Ball Z when I was little. Now when I rewatch it, it's a little rough.
It's okay.
But when I was younger, I watched it like crazy.
Yeah.
But I got Frieza's, and but it's like TV shows like this where I think they're super revolutionary because it kind of made the plot point for every anime coming after it, and that's I'm gonna get stronger. I'm gonna get stronger.
Yeah. Yeah. Power up.
Exactly. So it's just like it's sweet stuff, and you get ones like that's a perfect Frieza.
Yeah.
That's matching background and everything right there.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. You want matching backgrounds. And these right here, these are the drawings that some of them have. And those are these are really the original art, if you think about it. These are kind of done by not the animators. These are done by the animators. These are the real sketches. And these are more expensive than these because they look prettier, but these are actually done by someone important.
I would rather have those.
So that's the thing. I think prices might, switch a little bit. But yeah, dude, and this is my best one. This I just purchased from if y'all know him, Zeno on Instagram, and I finally convinced him to sell it to me after 2 years. I'm a big cooler guy.
That's the stuff that I love, man. Okay, so we got question. Alan says, any G-Force or Battle of the Planets animation cell art?
I don't personally have any. I do not. But what year did those come out?
Oh God, those had to be early 80s, right? Late 70s?
So I mean, they're going to be scarce, but they're definitely out there. Early 80s stuff is pretty hard, especially like you're trying to get black and white Astro Boys and that kind of stuff. It's difficult. But they're out there. Ones that I'm looking for more Neo Genesis stuff, and I'm looking for more Studio Ghibli, any of the movies that are associated with that. Yeah.
That's cool stuff, man. That is awesome. Being able to get
Akira.
Yes.
Akira's sick. I bid on some of the one, or Pokemon. A Pokemon cell. I bid like crazy on one of the Pokemon cells in the last Heritage auction, and I got stomped on it. I went like $5,000 over what I said was going to be my max, and I still lost.
Well, that's the next step, right? For all these kids that are collecting Pokemon cards, like the next best thing is having original anime art and the animation cells. Like that is awesome. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, I've got a few big ones coming in soon. Thrilled.
Oh, yeah. Well,
yep. I've got a Goku like this big coming in. And
well, now you got to just start framing that stuff and getting it up on the wall, man.
Exactly.
That's the hard part with a lot of OA. Like some of that stuff, you got to buy special furniture just to house it, right? If you're not going to put it on the wall, you got to right? All right. So question is, where to start with cell buying? If you could give people advice, where should they start to looking into that stuff?
It shows you love. Kind of the same thing with comic books. Like what TV show like really strikes a chord with you from your youth, and like chances say it does with somebody else.
Yes.
So
yes, guarantee.
So that's my big recommendation for it. And if you're buying what you love and you make a mistake, you still bought something you love. So like it can't be that bad.
Yeah.
And chances say someone else loves it, so you probably didn't.
That's a great point. That is something I hear from very few people, but the people that say it, I hold their opinions in high regard. Buy what you love because somebody else loves it too.
Yeah.
I would love to get some of that cool G.I. Joe stuff because I grew up G.I. Joe. You know what I mean? If I could get some of that dope G.I. Joe stuff, like I would be into it. I'd be into
G.I. Joe or Transformers.
Hey, if you want an original aircraft carrier, there's one over there in the box.
I know. I've seen it. I've been looking at it all night, dude. I've been looking at it all night. That was the one thing that I didn't have growing up was the aircraft carrier. Oh my God.
Sick.
Dude, ladies, hold on, Nate. Put that back.
Is the aircraft carrier the one in the box that's like
yes, massive. Yes, Nate, hold that.
It's kind of a fair price. I think they're like $6,000 or something like that.
Yeah, this to me it's not the holy grail for me of Joe's. It's up there. The holy grail for me of Joe's is the second version of Snake Eyes. But this is the first version. He's got it both. Look at this. Oh my God. Look at how beautiful that is. Absolutely gorgeous.
There's a good story behind this one.
Let's hear it.
So I'm from North Carolina, and the grocery stores are Harris Teeter in North Carolina. So I used to go with my mom every Saturday, and there was an Eckerd Drugs next door. So as soon as she went into the Harris Teeter, I would go next door to Eckerd Drugs to see if they had any Transformers or G.I. Joe figures. You know, usually if they have some, they're the ones that everybody always had, like Lifeline or Bazooka or Zap. You know, the ones that you really wanted. Easy to find. The one time my mom gets sick, I go to the grocery store with my dad. I go over and I find this guy. Now, I had already gotten him, but anybody who collected G.I. Joe knew that Snake Eyes was impossible to find. So when I couldn't believe they had one, so I went and I hid it at Eckerd's, ran back over to Harris Teeter, told my dad I had to have $3. So he was like, well, why do you need $3 if I just score a G.I. Joe figure? And he's like, well, you already have it? And I'm like, well, yeah. I've got them all. He couldn't understand why you had to buy another one. So I had to tell him, I'm like, look, if we go home and mom's already sick and I tell her you wouldn't give me $3 for this G.I. Joe figure, she's going to be so pissed at you. He pulled out his wallet, gave me the money. I've had it ever since. And for the longest time, I just had it downstairs in the playroom, just on like the little plastic peg, just hanging there. Because I have like ripcord back here, same way. And I eventually sent it off to get graded with, I've got all the original 72 Star Wars figures graded and with other ones. So they're just back there. And so I send him eBay links every once in a while so he can see what it's worth. And he still wants his cut, but.
I remember my best memories as a kid was going to the store and running to the G.I. Joe aisle and just seeing pegs full of figures, like, you know what I mean, like when you knew they had a restock and you got to look through all the figures. That was my favorite stuff. One of the worst things is I remember when I got my first Storm Shadow figure, and Storm Shadow had those little swords that always fell out of his backpack. And on the ride home, my mom told me, "Don't you open up that figure because you're gonna lose something." And sure enough, I lost that little sword, and it was the worst part of my childhood for like 20 minutes. So gotta love G.I. Joes, man.
You'll never forget.
Yeah. You know what the funny thing is I thought when we talk like about for kids like growing up that were, you know, the generation after us, you know, I thought that the Pokemon stuff was really going to blow up because of the toys, not because of the game. I always thought to myself that if I was a kid growing up and those Pokemon stuff came out and the toy, they made the toys and you had the little ball and you could just buy the toys like crazy, I would be in a heartbeat because there were so many of them that you could collect and this and that. But I feel like they never really like did that. They never put out a ton of really good Pokemon toys, or did I just not notice them?
We were too distracted, I think. They definitely exist, like the plushies and the ones with the little, like, you know, Pokeball you can throw it. There's like, and then the McDonald's toys. But everyone was so distracted with those cards. They were everything. They were just everything.
Yeah. Do you remember
for like 3 years? They were anything that was sold at a store.
Yes. Yeah. It was bonkers. It was absolutely bonkers. Do you guys remember Battle Beasts?
No, I don't.
Battle Beasts were like Pokemon before Pokemon. Let me show you guys these. These were super cool.
What year were they?
Mid 80s to late 80s, early 90s.
No part of me was even in the ether.
All right, watch this. This is great. You guys are gonna laugh about these. So these are Battle Beasts, and they're little toys, right? There's tons of them. They come in different.
Are they Transformers?
No, they're just these little. They're about like 1.5 inches tall, right? But they're like Transformers, right?
Because I see the little Autobots logo.
You got it. They have the little thermal things on there that you would rub on, and it would show you what it was. And certain battle beasts could defeat other battle beasts, just like Pokemon and stuff, but you had to find out what they were. And these things were just like you said, Mikey, like for a 3-year period. As a kid, this was all we could think about were these things, man.
Mm-hmm.
And they died out, but I think that all those collecting things, like it's all cyclical, right? So, well, maybe not anymore because of how digital has gotten in, but like something always comes back, right?
Yep.
Whether it's fashion or toys. I always felt like when we were growing up in the 80s and 90s, toys were at their best. I look at toys nowadays and I go out, it's either not for kids or they're just not good. Everything is digital, right?
I agree. Because I was a big Lego guy. And I don't think Legos now are quite the same as they were when I was younger.
No, they're not. You're 100% right. They're definitely not. I think now they're more collected. They're collected rather than playing with Legos or putting Legos together. You're a Star Wars guy. You pick up the Star Wars Legos.
I still love them. I'll still do it.
Do you still have your old school Legos?
Yeah. Yeah,
really?
I do. I've got ones that like, now they would be worth, like $1,000 when I bought like I've got like the Super Star Destroyer, and I think that one's worth like $2,000 sealed or something like that.
Yeah.
And that's my coolest one. Yeah. And I also have like the Death Star where you like could put the characters inside of it. The one I wanted the most was and I remember when it came out, was the Darth Vader bust, but I couldn't get my mom to buy it for me. And now it's the most expensive one.
When I was a kid, sorry, everybody that tuned in for old school comics, I apologize, you guys. We are off the rails, but that is because
old school Legos now.
Yeah, old school Legos now. When I was a kid, the best Lego was a series called Blacktron. They didn't last long. Well, they lasted. It was at the end of the line, but this one right here, was the coolest Lego to me ever. Because it came apart and different. It had different parts, and you could put them back together obviously Legos come apart, but this set was so cool to me. And they had the Lego man it had a visor on it. It was like blew my mind. Yeah, right. So,
dude, I'm with you. I get it.
So I still to this day, I gave all my childhood Legos to a cousin, but I went in there and grabbed all the Blacktron Lego figures because I said I can't give these guys away. They mean too much to me. I love it, man. Very cool stuff. So, all right, you guys. Alex the Comic Hoarder says the cards I was buying was DC and Marvel Overpower. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't get into any of those either. I never got into any of the Magic the Gathering. I never got into Pokemon. I think I was just a little too old for Pokemon. But if they would have come out 3 years earlier, it would have been game over for me. My parents would have hated me. I remember my mom saying one of the worst things that they ever did as parents was let me realize that you get toys at the store, right? So good stuff. All right, you guys, anything else that we can think of before we get ready to call it a night? I apologize, you guys, for just being all over the place. I'm sitting in for James and Deno tonight. They had a lot of things planned, but family stuff comes up. So
well, if we're off the rails, I'm just going to show you real quickly, just because with the price of some of the comics, there was a card show in Houston about 3 weeks ago. It's the first card show I've been to, and now there's a comic show next week and the following week. But I figured you might like some of the pickups.
Oh my God! Wow, is that 54, Jackie Robinson?
53.
53. Yeah. Oh my God!
It's pretty. I mean, it's sharp corners, a little chipping on the bottom, but pretty clean.
Mikey, you ever get into sports cards?
I just don't know my sports in general. I'm too much of a real deal nerd.
Yeah,
superheroes,
it's
superpowers.
Harmon Killebrew. Nope. Who's that? Is that Harmon Killebrew? Who's that?
Yeah, yep. That's his rookie. And then,
wow. Oh, Sandy Koufax. Did you just pick those up?
Got him. There was a guy I got all these from.
Oh my God.
And he really hooked me up. And then I just picked up some old Brooklyn Dodgers like Gil Hodges and Clem Labine.
I have a bunch of Gil Hodges autograph.
Oh, do you really?
Yeah.
Well, I think I know who I need to talk to about making a trade.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Wait, you got to show me the one card that is going to make me just go over the edge I already know you have. The Gretzky, bro.
Oh,
Do you
I
have the
was about to
Gretzky?
say, well, I was thinking Jordan, but yeah, Gretzky.
Yeah. He told me before the show, he goes, I went and picked up a Gretzky rookie. And I had to ask him, I was like, if he tells me OPG, I'm not going to be able to. He's like, no, it was tops.
Now, did you hold on to your Ovechkin?
So I still have it.
Okay.
I am selling it. Golden Auctions recently sold a BGS 10. It went for $24K. And so it wasn't a black label. It was it had a couple nines on the, I can't remember what if it was centering corners or whatever it was, but it was a BGS 10 and mine's a PSA 10. The problem is that so many people they're this close to talking me out of selling it, but I'm like, oh man, I don't know what to do.
So a buddy of mine here in town, he and I buy stuff together. And so we bought the Gretzky together, and he's got an Ovechkin. And his is a 9 or 9. I think it's a 9. I don't think it's a 9.5. But I sent him the show where you were talking about yours. And he had, I guess it was months ago, but he and I went in and bought a bunch of, I'm trying to remember the year of the Upper Deck, but the Series 2 where it says rookie card. So we went and bought a bunch of unopened boxes.
Yeah, 2004.
I can't remember. You know better than I do. But so we're sitting on those in case he breaks Gretzky's record.
Well, the crazy thing about that year, and like you said, unfortunately with Upper Deck, they have the Series 1 and Series 2, but that SP set, because they had, and a lot of people don't realize this, because they had the strike the year before, they put 2 years worth of rookies in the next set. So if you buy that OPG box, you got a chance of getting, or I mean, not OPG, SP Authentic box, you got a chance of getting Crosby and Ovechkin, which is crazy to me, right? Like there was that, I forget what it was. I think it's 71 OPG that has that iconic circle. There's that Bobby Orr card that's so beautiful in that set. To me, I felt like the SP Authentic from 04 tried to kind of like pay homage to that 71 OPG set, and they knocked it out. Yeah. Uniforms 13 says, bro, just post it on eBay for $30K. Buy it right now. The problem with that is let's talk about this for a little bit before we get, call it a night. The problem with that is selling. Like, I've got Mikey here who I can, ask about these questions all night, and I will if somebody doesn't stop me. But when it comes to the eBay stuff, I think that eBay is making it harder for people to sell big ticket items now. And it's so much easier for us to go to Heritage, to go to Golden Auctions, to go to these places, because eBay's making it just hard. They're with, what are you guys' thoughts on that? I know Mikey's.
I hear a lot of complaints. I don't sell on eBay, but like I know a lot of sellers are complaining about it because they're raising their rates and doing that whole thing. And I don't really think it's eBay's fault. I think it's just new ordinance. I don't think eBay likes it either, but it's just the way that it is now. And like same thing, like now you have to pay tax on eBay and you don't do it later. So get a tax ID number. Like there's ways to get sort of around it, but it's still difficult.
Not with big ticket. I feel like with big ticket items, they just make it too difficult, right? I mean, to get around that stuff.
I know someone that tried to. They actually just sold about 5 or 6, basically Silver Age keys, and I think because they haven't really sold before on eBay, even though they had an account for some time, because of the price of the books, they were sold. Put hey, here's the USPS, here's the number, delivered, all positive feedback. eBay wouldn't pay out for weeks. Literally, they just got their money.
Wow.
And they were going back and forth with offshore people, onshore people. They wanted verification that was really them, their books. And it's just astonishing. I'm like, you got the USPS numbers. It's already certified that it was delivered, and it's positive feedback, and they thought it was some kind of scam. And it took them weeks to get literally like $12,000.
Yeah,
that's infuriating.
Well, that's why these auction houses are where to go. I mean,
yep.
They have precedents. They they've been doing this for a while. They know how to sell big ticket items. People go there for those items specifically. I geek out over Heritage constantly. I'll just get lost in there. For all the stuff that's over there, and I don't even have to do it with comic stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's been obvious.
Like sometimes I'll go in holes and look at dinosaur bones.
Yes, yes, you're 100% right. Oh my God, man, that is what happens to me. And that's another thing. You know, some of these collectible places, especially with the cards, are starting to get into the historical stuff. They're putting dinosaur bones on cards. They're putting what is it? The tops. What are those that do the seeds and all that stuff? And they do what's that set that they put out every year? That's like the small set that Topps put out, and they got like dinosaurs in there and all kinds of straight chat. Let me know if you guys know what I'm talking about. It's not Allen and Ginter. Allen and Ginter, that's it. Yeah, man, right there. So Allen and Ginter, they'll put in like, you know, a piece of a dinosaur bone or a piece of petrified earth, or
in the card.
Or in the card, yeah,
cool.
In the card, yeah. and not only that, this is the crazy part. So cards nowadays. Let's see if I can find this. I might have to change this. Let me change the brand. This might make everything go wacko, but we'll see. Here we go. So this is one of the things that I showed. Let's see if I can find it here. I can't find it. Anyways, so there's a card company that is, what they're doing right now is they're finding old historical documents, right? They're finding old letters written by George Washington or old letters written by Thomas Jefferson. And I don't think they do it with whole letters, because I would be pissed. If they took whole letters and cut them up, I'd be like, what the F are you doing? But I think they're doing it with, like, you know, damaged items or something like that. At least I hope that's what they're doing. But they're cutting those letters and they're taking just words, and they'll just cut out a word and they'll put that word on a piece of on a card and say, here, you have you just won, you know, you open this pack and you got lucky and you pull the word from a document handwritten by George Washington. So you get like the letter, like the word that written by George Washington. That's pretty cool to me.
It's pretty cool. You know, there's the whole like, oh no, is this sacrilegious? But at the same time, I mean, you add collectability to it. I don't know, they probably make more money than just selling the document as a whole. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, because I saw what you were talking about, Brian. And actually, I was related to President Hoover. And if there's anybody who's going to be cheap to buy, it's him.
Yes.
So I was wondering about the same thing. I was like, man, it would be really cool to get some kind of artifact that was related somehow or another back to him, some kind of document in the card. But
I bet you can.
Really but
super cheap. That's the type of stuff we're into, right? That's you know, it's funny how we get into these collecting niche collecting things. You know, I talked about one of my biggest is creator first. Like I geek out over creator first more than I do a key first appearance sometimes. And finding some of them is super hard. Like to find some of the old school creators, to figure out what their first professional work was is really hard. When it's not necessarily known. For the longest time, I had a hard time finding out Neil Adams' very first professional work. Like, what was the first thing Neil Adams ever did that got published? And it took me a while. I finally found out it was Archie's comic. It was like a joke, Archie's joke book. And this is why it's hard, because he didn't do anything but like retouch some lettering or on there or something, you know? And I geek out so much on that stuff that I'm like, okay, if he did anything in that book, I don't. And the same thing with Frazetta. Like Frazetta's very first professional work is that Tally Ho, and he just did the little snowman on the cover. That's it.
I have the cover.
Are you kidding me, Mikey? Why isn't that thing on your back wall portrayed just beautifully?
I don't even have it framed. I wish I could bring it out to show y'all. It's not even here. It's not even here. I have it locked up.
Good for you, man. Okay. So this is gonna get me down another quick rabbit hole. What other cool Frazetta items do you have? That's just that.
No, actually, no. I've got a rough sketch. I have rough sketches from that book also that I bought in the same auction that was in. And it's signed Frazetta. and I sold it, but I have a unpublished story that was also intended for Talio. I sold that in Heritage. It sold for like $36,000, something like that, $30,000.
I feel like it should be so much more for Frazetta stuff.
I felt like it should too, because I mean it was like 8 pages.
Yeah,
but I got
amazing.
it for so much less than that. So I mean, I couldn't have been that upset. And I still bought it in auction, and I got way more than that in it. So it just,
I think a lot of people didn't realize what it was. They just
that's what I think too. And it's also the thing is with art collectors is they don't care as much about it being the first. They care about it being the best. They want peak artists. They want their artwork to be just like gnarly.
Yeah.
And 16-year-old Frazetta, it's historic. I love it.
Yes.
You love it.
Yep. Yeah.
But I get why it's not, the $100,000 Frazetta items.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man. Oh my God. That's like, there's been like 4 times in the show tonight where my mind's been blown at the stuff that we've been showing and talking about. So listen, you guys, thank you for coming and hanging out with us. We're going to end the show early, but I want to say this. Mikey and Nate, thank you guys for doing this, but you got to promise me that you guys are both going to come on again, because I want to get a proper show going to where we can just geek out even more, have more fun. I know shooting the shit, spitballing is fun, but I feel like I got to sit here for another couple more hours and get some insight from you guys. So as long as you guys promise to come back, I'll end the show and let you guys go.
Deal.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. All right.
Well,
thank you guys. All right, you guys. We'll talk to you later. Make sure you guys subscribe, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys would like to see Nate and Mikey talk about the next time they're on the show, because we are going to do that soon. On that note, we're out.